This is Lover, written by Kraiva. Part 26 of Surrogate, the Director's Cut. The rating is mature. No archive warnings apply. The fandom is Malevolent, the podcast.
Additional tags. The boys can have a teeny tiny divorce as a treat. Not even a divorce, really, since Arthur isn't really fighting back. Just a reminder that mental health is not a straight road, even before you factor in the King in Yellow. Soft boys. Gentle. I love them. Voices by Jasper as Arthur, LynnLarsh as John, Vmprsm as the narrator, SSJTrinity, Kraiva, and Somniate as the work introduction, editing by Flamia, directed by Vmprsm, Transcript by Saffron, created and posted with permission from the authors of Surrogate, the Director's Cut.
You don't get to talk about my friend like that. I won't let you.
Arthur cried for 3 awful hours after Faro left. It was a bad cry. A broken, horrible cry. A cry that stilled the argument from John and left him with his left hand curled against Arthur's cheek, wiping away tears whenever he could. It did little to soothe the rage he felt. Arthur had been doing so much better. He wasn't fixed, but he'd been crying less. Sometimes he even ate on his own, unmotivated by John's prodding. And then she showed up, coming from nowhere like the little viper she was, and struck him right through the heart. They didn't go to dinner that night. John had, as gently and carefully as he could, convinced Arthur to go to bed. Arthur was quiet the next morning, but John's anger was decidedly not.
Arthur? What the fuck was that all about?
What?
Arthur blinked, and John could see the exhaustion clear on his face in at least a dozen of the mirrors installed around Arthur's rooms.
Yesterday, your father was a fool, your father was evil, your father deserved... What the fuck is wrong with you?
Arthur had started shaking, his right hand gripping the mattress like it was the only thing keeping him from breaking to pieces.
It's the truth.
Bullshit!
John's bellow nearly doubled Arthur over in pain.
That is bullshit! And you know it's bullshit because we've discussed how it's bullshit!
John!
No, you shut the fuck up and listen to me. I don't give a single shit about her, but I will not let you poison your own fucking daughter against you. How dare you? After everything we've done to get this far, how dare you?
It's her right to know, John.
The tears were flowing again, the despair plain on his face.
Her father's a monster. A selfish pig.
Enough!
The bellow cut through the air again, and Arthur coiled in on himself, shuddering.
Enough. Arthur, you...
John's voice shook with the effort it took to calm, to force himself to think.
You don't get to talk about my friend like that. I won't let you.
Your friend is a real piece of work, John.
My friend saved my life, made me more than the fragment I once was, plucked me from the dark world and stood by me despite every awful thing I've ever done to him, slit his own fucking throat to try and protect me, and pulled himself up from the brink to save his little girl.
He hated to use her against him again. But maybe, just like lying, it was okay if it was to help. Sometimes human doctors had to cut out the disease to enable healing, and Faro was the sharpest knife John could find.
Anyone would do that for their child.
The tears still flowed, leaving his eyes red-rimmed in the many reflections that surrounded them.
Would they? Would they, even if their child is wielded as a weapon to hurt them?
John watched as Arthur flinched in the reflections, and a deep part of him twisted.
Even when their child has nightmares about...
The panic forming on Arthur's face was horrible.
Would just anyone keep going to her, comforting her, reliving that awful moment over and over? I don't think so, Arthur. If you're a monster, then what the fuck am I?
Arthur's shoulders shook hard. He looked so fragile, even though he'd put on so much muscle. Maybe John had assumed Arthur was doing better just because he physically looked better. He wouldn't make that mistake again. He reached with their left hand, cupping Arthur's face gently, thumb brushing across his eyelashes.
Please don't. I can't make you stop feeling like this, but I can make you stop saying those things to her.
Arthur leaned into the touch on his face.
And if Faro asks more about her parentage...
John's thumb stroked across the pocked scars from a sandstorm that felt lifetimes away.
I'll scream. I'll yell as loud as I can, so you can't get 2 words out about it.
Very mature.
If that's what it takes. I will become the biggest shithead child you have ever fucking seen.
John went still as he saw Arthur's face in the mirrors, smiling, even through the tears, leaning into the touch on his cheek. He wished he could do so much more, and it twisted like a blade in his metaphorical gut.
Such a thoughtful lover,
his subconscious whispered, and there was that fucking word again. John seized that thought, ready to grind it out of existence, but maybe that was the key here. Lover, one who loves, the act of loving, the choice to love. Sometimes John felt as if he didn't have a choice. But he did, didn't he? He had made a choice. He had made the choice to use Faro's name, but to help instead of hurt. He had made the choice to give a shit. And he was still making the choice to stay with Arthur, no matter the cost.
Arthur?
Yes, John?
Arthur's eyes were half closed, calm. His breathing had slowed, and it felt like the pair of them had stayed in that moment for peaceful hours.
Could we spend the day just playing piano? The 2 of us?
Arthur frowned.
I need to work on the opening for the games.
Right.
The silence was heavy.
Don't sound so disappointed. It's almost done anyway. I can put it off a little longer.
You will?
For my dear friend. Yes, I will.
Arthur smiled, the smile that John cherished like something precious, and he got to his feet.
After breakfast.
You remembered.
John felt his grief slide away as he watched Arthur, his precious Arthur, get up and wash his face. He wasn't foolish enough to think things were fixed, but maybe, just maybe, things would get better.
If you enjoyed this production of Surrogate, the Director's Cut, please read the original written work on AO3, where it is still actively updating as of December 2024. A link is in the work notes, where you can also find the social medias of all the production cast. Malevolent was written and produced by Harlan Guthrie, and all characters depicted here belong to their respective creators. The cast and management produced this show for no monetary gain, and all rights remain with the authors. Any sound effects or music used in this production were obtained legally or are created by the production cast. Please let us know your thoughts, and as Kane would say,
Stay tuned for the next episode!